Max Gorlin, Melbourne Football Club. You're listening to the Coaches Panel.
This is Nat Fyfe from the Fremantle Footy Club.
Trent Cotchin from the Richmond Footy Club.
Scott Pendlebury from the Collingwood Football Club. You're listening to the Coaches Panel.
Patrick Cooch from the Carlton Footy Club.
It's Rory Sloane here from the Adelaide Crows.
This is Tom Mitchell. You're listening to the Coaches Panel.
There's now a Himmelberg at 2 expansion clubs. Harry at the GWS Giants, and now as a free agency move, Elliot Himmelberg is a part of the Gold Coast Suns. What does this move mean for the Crows, for the Suns, and for AFL Fantasy Supercoach Dream Team and Keeper players? What does it mean for our fantasy potential to get out of Elliot in 2025? We're talking about that on today's episode. It's MJ from the Coaches Panel. I hope you're well. Elliot Himmelberg, well, he's been a bit of a maligned player over a period of time. I thought he might have been moving clubs 12 months ago with a request to join his brother. That obviously didn't happen, but 12 months later, he, as a free agent, finds an easy way out of the Adelaide Football Club. He's a fascinating player. Got the height to be able to cover all 3 positional spots you want from him. He's probably more at his best been as a key forward, has been a relief ruck and taken some relief ruck opportunities. And then the 2024 preseason, he actually spent the majority, if not entirety of it, working and honing on his key defensive craft. And so Elliot Himmelberg, while not really elite at any single one of these 3 areas, is actually quite a handy little player to have on your team, because what you get out of him is similar to what I think Collingwood liked attractionally about Billy Frampton, which is really with one list spot, I can get a player that fills all 3 core and key positional spaces, and it gives me at least list versatility. And he's not bad at any of those roles either, by the way. And so you get someone that's solid and decent forward, solid and decent in defense, solid and decent as a relief ruck option. And so I think this is why the Gold Coast Suns have sought him out, is it just gives them, obviously, no trade capital out the door, but gives them a little bit more depth in every single one of those areas. Now, I don't see them needing him to play any ruck opportunity at all. When you've got Witts, Boyle, and Reid, they're stocked. So he's never going to have to play as their lead ruck. Rather, it's that support and forward for Ben King that they're probably most likely looking for, given that, again, I feel like they're relatively stable, at least in their best 22, for that key defensive spaces, sort of really, I think they're pretty locked away. And so Himmelberg, I think, is, in the Gold Coast eyes, a hoped improvement on a Levi Casbolt. He's not the same marking presence, but he probably adds a little bit more aerobically around the ground and a little bit more improvement at centre bounce. So there's a world where I do see Elliot Himmelberg making his way into that best 22, but I think he's more likely than not going to be a key position depth option in their squad. And I think that's probably his lot on an AFL list at the moment. He's a really solid key defensive citizen.
This episode is brought to you by Allstate. Some people just know they could save hundreds on car insurance by checking Allstate first. Like, to check you have the tickets in your wallet first before you drive 2 hours to the big game. Seriously, you had one job. Now the closest you'll get to the 50-yard line is parking lot D. Yeah, checking first is smart. So check Allstate first for a quote that could save you hundreds. You're in good hands with Allstate. Savings vary. Terms apply. Allstate Fire and Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Northbrook, Illinois.
For the Crows, what does this mean for them? Well, they've spent the time developing him as the backup, especially with the emergence and the recruitment of Riley Thilthorpe a few seasons ago. They're feeling like they're pretty stocked about what they want their key position team to look like. Thilthorpe, Fogarty, one more year of Walker, and then a father-son in Tyler Walsh will come in, and they're hoping will play that third tall role over time. So there's just no room for him. Lockie Gallant is waiting for a contract, who's another of those key position talls. So there's no spot for him there. Though the Crows actually, while none of them are a leader, actually quite well stocked for 190-plus centimetre defenders. And rucks, Himmelberg's not the solution. So for the Crows, it's just a little bit of loss of depth and nothing more than that. From a fantasy perspective, no tons this year. mid-50s, low 50s average in fantasy. There's creaks of 60s in Supercoach, and politely, that's what he is across his career. He's a mid-50s average guy in AFL fantasy and a mid-60s guy in Supercoach. Even a move to the Suns, there's just no relevance for us in salary cap. You're not looking at it at all in Classic. In drafts, there's a way you do look at it, and it's a couple of caveats. One, it's a really, really deep draft. It's a really, really deep amount of players that you're keeping within your draft team. And that would make a fair chunk of sense to me that, okay, now we are having to look at that. You're looking to handcuff him to a bunch of other Suns players. Maybe you're playing some kind of category scoring league in keeper, which is a great draft format, by the way. Maybe that's where you're looking at goals is one of the categories and he's one of your depth options maybe, or it's a crazy big dynasty league. These are the very rare places that Elliot Himmelberg will likely get picked up or drafted. Otherwise, I think he's destined for the player pool and probably not someone I really could foresee really getting out of that. But do you agree or do you disagree with my take on Elliot Himmelberg? You can have your say in the comments section below if you're watching this on YouTube. If you haven't subscribed and got those notifications on just yet, make sure you do that now before the video wraps up. If you're tuning in as the audio podcast, thanks so much for subscribing and giving a 5-star rating. For the details to get in touch with us across social media, well, you can find that in the description of this episode. Within it is also the links to our Patreon. Our Patreons right now have got a brand new podcast series that has launched where we are looking at the top 50 keeper ranks, where we're going through the players that both Kane and myself believe are the 50 most valuable player prospects that you want to own in a keeper right now. Tier 8 is out right now, the first episode of 8. Make sure you go and get that. All tiers of Patreons are getting that, so make sure you sign up for that. And if you want to get some Coaches Panel merch, it has just launched as we have now launched out the 2025 pre-season with these episodes. You can get that. All the details to pick up some Coaches Panel merch are in the details of this episode as well. Hey, thanks so much for tuning in. We're back again soon, looking at another player that moves clubs this trade and free agency period.